Okay, and here we are in Ableton Live 11, and you can see we've got our melodic techno loop going here, which we're going to listen to in a second. And every single one of these sounds, bar one, which is my kick sound here, is from Analog Lab 5. So it shows you how powerful and how versatile a tool Analog Lab 5 really is, because I'm doing a whole category of drums here, an entire drum groove using Analog Lab, as well as everything else you can see here, like the respace, the stab, the idea for an ARP, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on and work on, and this pad. So let's not delay any longer. Let's have a little listen and let's dive into the drums first of all. So as you can hear, it's quite up front, it's very club ready, if you will, and is, really motoring along quite nicely. So let's look at the drums first of all, and what we'll do is we'll go through them each individually. And again, this has been great because I've been able to move straight into Analog Lab, and as you can see here, there is an 808 Congas preset here, which is what I've used straight away, and not done a lot to it. Again, a lot of these sounds are really great right out of the box and very, very cool in that way. And again, as you can see here, if I hit edit preset, it is subject to some effects, maybe not as much as you would imagine. However, if I open up the actual synth itself here, you can see it's from the CSV, or the CZV, I should say, and it's got this really lovely tonality to it. And it's got this little delay on it straight away, which is quite nice as part of the sound, as you can see. But then I've got the ability to add in, if I wanted to add another element, like another ability to give a bit more rhythm, as well as the reverb, if I wanted to build tension, for example. And again, the macros are super important here because I could completely change the whole feeling and the whole tone of the sound just with one macro. And again, I could almost turn that straight away from a conga into more of like a snare sound, really. So all of these elements are eminently automatable through our DAW, through Ableton Live, and again, completely customizable as well. And because we've got full access to the synth here, we could actually mold this sound straight away if we wanted to. And we've got a lot of different possibilities to craft, morph, expand, and contract the sound through the course of an entire production. So even the smallest, most innocuous conga sound can sound really, really, really interesting and can morph into a whole host of different shapes and really hold somebody's interest through a track, which is really, really cool. So we've got our conga there, and we've got, again, our ability to kind of morph and change that sound. And again, what's really nice is that you've got these really, really interesting drum sounds. So again, the electric hat here is actually from the Oberheim SEM, which is a fantastic plugin I've loved for a long time. And again, just to fold everything away here so we can see it a bit bigger, you can see obviously it's a very, very simple sound, but again, we've got full control of the Oberheim here. Now, one of the things to really note before we go any further is that you'll notice that if you don't own all of the Arturia V Collection synths, you'll actually not have access to the ability to edit all of these synths. Now, the reason why I mention this is because you can still use all of the presets. You just won't be able to edit and customize them. You'll be able to layer them up. You'll be able to send them to effects. You'll be able to do a whole host of different things. You just won't be able to get inside them. So it's great for people who are wanting a cost-effective way of getting into the Arturia ecosystem, if you will, and want access to all of these amazing presets, having not quite made the full investment into the V Collection. So it's amazing that Arturia have made all of this available even to people who don't own the synths. Now, in this case, I can get into all of this stuff, and it's really, really useful. So again, very simple hi-hat sound, which I can play here. Now, from a sound design perspective, I'm doing a couple of things outside of Analog Lab. So occasionally you'll see me do things within Ableton that augment the sound. So here, as you can see on EQ8, I've just rolled off quite aggressively a lot of the low end because I really wanted to sit and really bounce on top of the track. And the other thing that I've done here is a bit of a patented trick of mine. When it comes to hi-hats, I love putting very short delays on closed hi-hats because it helps give more rhythm, and it gives me another option to add momentum in the arrangement of a track by being able to control the dry and wet and be able to automate it. So in this case, I've got a stereo delay, not ping pong, but I've got the left side on 3/16 notes delay and the right side on 1/16 note. So they're kind of really bouncing off each other, and there's almost like a kind of a polyrhythmical kind of effect going on there. Feedback at 30%, dry and wet would always be around 20 to 25%, and you'll be able to hear it with and without now. So a really nice, sharp, almost shakery, quite white noise based hi-hat sound that just gets this really, really lovely level of groove here. That really, really works. So now, if I was to add these two sounds in the kick, just those three sounds just give you that really lovely, groovy, kind of melodic techno feel. So working really well together. And again, we can add a shaker. And again, from here, it is a really nice, very simple kind of shaker sound. So again, what you'll see here, if I hit edit preset and then open, boom, there we go. It's from the synclavier. Again, sounds very, very, very natural indeed. And again, if we were to work with some of the macro properties here, and if we were to open up our various different settings here, you'll be able to see that, you know, from the macro, the brightness is changing an FM amount, and it's also changing a timbre modulation as well. So if we were to play this along, and you'll hear the change as the brightness changes. We've got a nice bit of stereo width going on there. And the timbre has just wild changes. I kind of like it up there at around about 0.6 because it's just blended really nicely into the rest of the track. That's one of the reasons why I was playing the other sounds that we've got in this loop so far. Very nice indeed. And again, you can change the movement here. And there's also almost the ability, if you want to program it right, to go into kind of a triplety, almost like a fill kind of element within a shaker sound like this. And again, the regular controls like chorus and phaser, delay and reverb, which really, really work nicely. So again, I think this is really good as an example of being able to blend sounds and actually not needing to know the ins and outs of every single synth in the collection in order to get some really great usable and workable results. I've discovered a number of sounds in preparation for this course that I'm probably going to use in my productions going forward. And it's just the immediacy of it and actually being able to sculpt the sound into a unique shape that I need for the track at hand that I'm working on at that particular moment. It's what makes it really, really powerful. So we've got our really nice shaker there as well. And we've got a classic 909 ride, which I'll play in isolation. And you can see here, again, as with the shaker, which you're rolling off a lot of the top and bottom end, and again, a lot of sidechain compression to the kick. The ride is very, very similar. So you've got this really lovely slamming kick sidechain here from the glue compressor, which again stops it from sounding so mechanical because I've got it really hitting on the eighths. So it's what really gives it the bounce, if you will. And again, you've got a 909, like a fully functioning 909 with, with kicks and claps and all sorts of stuff that we can work on. So again, kicks, claps, there's different hi-hats, open hats at different speeds or at different pitches, shall I say, and really, really solid sounds. And again, the great thing about the 909 kit is that it's actually coming from the emulation of the emulator, shall we say, that Arturia have made. So it's got that lovely 12-bit, crispy, almost kind of old school hip-hop style of sound quality to it, which, unless you had the actual hardware unit, you'd struggle to get. Again, a lot of people love using the old Akai MPCs and different drum machines and samplers like the SP1200, for example, to get this kind of sound. And you've got it in the box within Analog Lab 5, and it's absolutely brilliant. Sounds so, so good. And again, actually, this might become my go-to 909 kit because it's just got this little bit of crunch, this little bit of dirt that you're looking for that just makes things a little less clean, a little bit more vibey, a bit more characterful, and just a beautiful, beautiful kit to use. Again, I'm not doing a lot to these sounds as well. Again, from a sound design perspective, I'm not absolutely mangling these sounds. I'm just augmenting them with a little bit of side chaining, a little bit of EQ, and again, in the way that I want to change and make the sound morph, I can blend them to fit with the other sounds around, like I've just done with the shaker. So the ride's doing its work at the back. Again, we'll put the EQ back on so we can obviously get that nice bounce as well. And the thing that really does offer a lot of groove here is this penultimate sound. I say penultimate because we're actually going to add a sound now. We're going to add a clap to this as a way of really, finishing things off. And we've got this, what I call a glitch loop here, which is really, really nice. Again, low end scraped off with an EQ8, glue compressor with sidechain compression, and here we go. If I just turn that. So yeah, it's got this absolutely gorgeous sequenced beat, which I'm a massive fan of. So again, it comes from the DX7. And we've got this lovely ability to so perfect for doing incidentals, drum fills, that kind of thing. And again, with that little bit of EQ on the back, you've got that ability to just have it sit with a bit of side chaining, and it will just sit underneath. So So the groove's working really, really beautifully here. But we just want to add maybe just an extra clap on top just to make it really nice and really make it work. So what we can do is we can add a new MIDI channel in our drum group. And again, just on that, we've got a drum bus working over the whole group just to kind of add a little bit of saturation, a little bit of distortion, just to help kind of bring things together. And one of the things I might do as a further step, once I'm happy with everything, I might actually put a little bit of group compression as well. Again, Ableton's glue compressor is one of my favorites, and I might put a glue compressor on here just to, again, like the name says, glue things together in a really nice way. So again, Analog Lab 5, we'll drag and drop this lovely thing in. And then what we'll do is actually, we'll go into drums and we'll double click on there. And then we can go to types. And if we go down to where drums are, we can identify claps because that's what we're looking for, right? Now, one of the things that we might be able to do is kind of like dial through different presets and stuff. But the one that I really like here is from the Moog Modular. So again, it's got, like, as I said, an electronic hand clap. The mod wheel makes it darker. So you get these lovely notes as well, which is really, really cool. Now, one of the things we can obviously play around with here is actually putting a little MIDI clip in. And again, I can go for a 2 and a 4, maybe duplicate, put a little groove in there, and let's see how that reacts. Maybe just pull the level down a little bit in case it's a bit too loud. Beautiful, right? It's actually working quite well. It's a little bit dark for my tastes. So what we'll be able to do is really hone this preset. And this is where we start getting into the power of this layer view, if you will, this mixer that we've got within Analog Lab 5. And what I can do here is change up some of the effects. So again, it's actually being passed through a chorus and a phaser. You can't actually hear that because both of them are set to 0%. That's one of the things it does. It lays out the signal flow, but allows you to add it or take it out as you want. Now, as I mentioned before, there's a number of different other effects, not just the chorus and the phaser. So I'm going to put a distortion on here to start with, and I'm going to use this overdrive mode, and I'm just going to turn the dry wet up. What we're also going to do is I'm just going to pop this over to the side, and I'm just going to make sure that this is in isolation so we can hear it in solo. And you can just hear that there's a little bit of reverb on there. That's not coming from here. That's coming from the synth itself. But I can just turn the dry wet up here and give it a bit more crunch. And I can go quite wild with either one. Quite like it there at around 21.5. And then from there, it will pass through into effect B. So again, it's running from left to right. The delay and reverb are actually send and return. As you can see here, it says on the left-hand side here. Whoops, just to go back to where we were. You can see here you've got the send to delay and reverb, and you can switch those on and off as you like. We may well play around with that as time goes on. But when we go back to effect B, one of the things I can do here is that I can add in a parametric EQ. So the parametric EQ is really, really useful because I can now actually EQ the sound from within Analog Lab 5. So I've got a low shelf, a high shelf, and a middle, like, bell EQ kind of parametric element here. And what I'll do is I'll take everything from 250. I really like where that is by default, and I'll take that all the way down. And again, I can take down a little bit of the mid-range and maybe push the high end a little bit. I'll play it and you'll be able to hear it. That's it without. So really cleaned it up and give it some nice crunch. So super happy with that. Might dial back on the dry and wet a little bit, just to calm the sound down, take some of the thickness out of it, because I'm going to be layering it over that glitch loop we heard previously. And we've got the delay and reverb, and this is where it gets interesting, because we can start to actually find delay and reverb settings that might be able to give us some more interest as we go through a full melodic techno production. So from here, if I just play this, and if I add in the delay a little bit, and it's got a nice sound to it, but I think it could actually do something a bit more interesting. So let's sculpt this a little bit. So let's go into sync first of all, and we can maybe pull that to a 1/8 dotted. That gives you that nice syncopation. I'll also put it into ping pong mode so we get a bit of a stereo effect. And I'll just put the high pass filter up to about 350, something like that, 360. And we can pull that down a little bit. And we get this lovely little rhythm. And if we just have it that bit lower, and again, you can see how the delay volume actually relates to the macro as well. So again, I could use the reverb volume here. Turn the pre-delay down. Maybe damp a little bit. And we get a lovely tension there. And again, completely automatable. And at the right moment through a track, we've got all of this lovely possibility. Finally, I can use the master EQ. And I might just take a little bit of the bass out. Might just push the treble just a little bit more, like a half dB. Pull a little half dB out of the mid-range. And again, in the context of the whole sound, the whole track. And again, that delay's almost given like a nice flangery, phasery type effect. One thing's really nice as well, just to finish up on the clap, is that you've got this slight variation that's going on, and that's what's really nice about using a lot of the Analog Lab sounds, where if you want sounds to evolve and sound unique and kind of a bit, again, analog, I suppose, is the best way to describe it, because it is Analog Lab, right? You've actually got this evolving, quite sort of unique sound where almost every time you hear that clap, it's slightly different because of the way that these synths have been so lovingly recreated from analog hardware like a Moog modular into the box here. So you've got all of the advantage of a beautiful hardware synth within your laptop here, as it is for me, and just gives you that unique, almost, I mean, it's a machine, but it's almost a human element, so it's a beautiful thing. So we're really happy with this drum groove so far. In the next video, we're going to go into this Reese bass and the bass stab.